Horror Movie Talk brought to you by Wee Willie's Lumber in North Portland. Ready to get your next project started with a bang? Really looking forward to cramming your days with huge loads of hot wood? Wee Willie's Lumber is chock full of hundreds of tons of wood, and we're quivering with anticipation for the next customer to walk in the front or back door. Wee Willie's, where we love wood. Also brought to you by I Like Comics in Vancouver, Washington. Sign up for a free subscription box today and receive 20% off any titles you sign up for. Get this, no minimum amount of titles to sign up for. Tons of comics, new and old, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, statues, collectibles, action figures, shirts, you name it. This place is a comics emporium. Check them out online at ilikecomicsonline.com. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your schlubby hosts each week are Bryce Hanson, the cool collected nihilist, and David Day, a cool guy who's always cool. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm David Day.
I'm Bryce Hanson.
And this is Horror Movie Talk. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Top of the pod, I'd like to plug our website, horrormovietalk.com. Check us out there. We post blogs and episodes and reviews, all kinds of fun stuff. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, probably the best places. Also got Instagram, if that's your deal. So check us out on there. And make sure to take our audience survey. You're going to hear us say this in the show for the next couple of months. We're taking a survey of our listeners, and we'd like you to participate. It will help us learn more about you, no matter how long you've been a listener or how frequently you listen. So please just take a few minutes, help us out, and visit our website at horrormovietalk.com. You'll find this listener survey. You'll find the listener survey link right on the main navigation bar up at the top. Also, on the sidebar when you're in one of the episodes.
Yeah, thanks for those that have already taken it. We've got a couple responses so far, and it's very helpful to see what our audience is made up of, and especially the questions of what do you like and what do you dislike about the show is very informative to us.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. So we recognize those of you who've already taken it, and we thank you very much. We post a new episode, a new podcast every single Wednesday. So go ahead and subscribe to us and leave a review of the podcast on either iTunes or Stitcher or any place that you listen to us. If you can leave us a review, we would greatly appreciate it. So thank you in advance, or on the back end if you've already done it. Today, we're going to be talking about Overlord. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge of a movie, 5 being totally average, nothing too bad, nothing too good, 10 being a great movie. Really, really, very, very, very good movie. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a kind of a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. Later, we'll be doing taglines. I don't think you called anything this time.
No.
Okay, and then...
But there was a lot of predictable things that happened in this movie.
Well, hey. Not that you couldn't have, it's just that you didn't.
I chose not to.
Yeah, right. Taglines and horror movie news. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and let's get into the show. So on Thursday, we went and saw Overlord. It's a new release, so just released, and it was very fun and very loud, and not to be taken too seriously at all. So here is the trailer.
3 months ago, I was cutting grass in my front yard. And the mailman shows up with a letter from the army. Now I'm here.
Taglines and horror movie news. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and let's get into the show. So on Thursday, we went and saw Overlord. It's a new release, so just released, and it was very fun and very loud, and not to be taken too seriously at all. So here is the trailer.
months ago, I was cutting grass in my front yard. And the mailman shows up with a letter from the army. Now I'm here. No idea where I'm gonna end up.
Welcome to France.
What happened here? Some questions don't have good answers.
There's a lot of soldiers out there, and there's only 4 of us.
Find out what's inside that compound. What is this?
1,000-year army. These 1,000-year soldiers.
We have to do this!
What's behind that wall? What do you do with those people? They have been given a purpose.
I hope that our episode doesn't get flagged for having that song in the trailer.
Oh, well,
We'll
where
see.
would it get flagged? On YouTube?
On iTunes, YouTube probably, definitely. Holy cow. One time I put some on YouTube and there was like a obscure Bob Dylan song way in the background and it still got flagged.
That's freaking ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry. That's 100% fair use. It doesn't. It's just an algorithm listening for the song.
Yeah.
Right. It must
Well,
be.
we'll see.
It's not a person going, "Oh yeah, this is a trailer to Overlord."
If you never hear us again, you'll probably never hear this episode.
Wow,
But
that
that's
could
the
get us
reason why.
that could
No,
get us
I don't
kicked
know.
off of
I don't
YouTube
think so.
or iTunes.
I don't think so, but it might get flagged. Who knows?
Wow.
I don't think they're too worried about us at this point. I think actually the advice that I heard is don't put anything on that's on the Billboard charts. Like nothing actually popular right now. So
Did Hell's Bells ever fall off the Billboard charts?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably not in the top 200.
Yeah,
I would think.
maybe.
So
So,
anyways.
Overlord can be found in theaters right now. It's a movie about a few American paratroopers in World War II who are dropped behind enemy lines in France right before the invasion on D-Day, so like the night of. And their mission is to destroy a radio tower in a church. But more than that, more accurately, it is an action horror movie. Action-horror movie. 100%. 100%. Yeah, it's real fun. It's got an intense emphasis on disturbing body horror and super stereotypical Nazi bad guys and good guys. So the good guys are ultra stereotypical, and the bad guys are even more stereotypical. Although it's kind of a fight to see who can be more goofily. But it's charming, I think.
Yeah. An adjective to describe this movie would not be subtle.
No, this movie is in your face. Big time, with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got basically everything you need for an action movie. Incredible sound, crazy intense physical fights, gun battles, chase scenes, you name it. It also has plenty of disturbing imagery that works well and makes you say, boy, those Germans sure were They were just mean dudes. What a bunch of meanies. Mm-hmm. I mean, that part where, well, we'll get into that later. I don't know if that counts as a spoiler, but I'm not going to spoil it. All the elements to make this quotation marks fun horror movie are present. Overlord provided me with all my favorite things: World War II, Nazi killing, fun horror, drugs, and a decently tight script. What did you think?
I mean, it's exactly what I expected from the trailer. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not subtle. If you watch that trailer and you hear AC/DC over World War II explosions, you're not going to get, an art house experience. Not even a historically accurate experience.
In no way.
But, like I said, it's exactly what I expected from it. Not anything really more than that. It was fun, and it was definitely a very good example of action horror.
Yeah.
It was both parts equal, pretty much.
Yeah. That's fair. The main character is named Boyce, and he's played by Jovan Adepo, who is an Englishman. I believe he was born in Oxford. His counterpart in the movie is named Ford. His superior, sorry, I don't remember the rank. Was he a corporal?
I don't know.
Lieutenant? Didn't say in IMDb, and I couldn't really remember because I thought, well, for sure, this is information that IMDb would have. Ford is played by the dreamy Wyatt Russell, and they are both joined by the most stereotypical set of World War II companions that I've ever seen in any movie ever. Although they're the same as, like, Band of Brothers. They're the same as Saving Private Ryan. You have your loud, obnoxious Italian American.
I mean, every World War II movie has the group that has
the Italian.
The stereotypes from different parts of the country with different backstories and motives.
They all have the loud Italian.
It's like they weighted all of that stereotyping onto this one character. Like 90% of the stereotype was on this one Italian
Tibbet
kid from the Bronx.
His character was named Tibbet. Yeah, he was fucking annoying. Yeah. But it provided for some good nudges and laughs and stuff like that. I mean, he was a funny character.
Yeah.
Although he overacted so much, and he was so stereotypical that I actually got a little annoyed a decent amount of the time.
It was it was very hammy. It was very, and like seeing interviews of him on IMDb, he just talks like a normal guy. It's like not. I think he's probably is from New York, so there's a slight accent, But in the movie, he's like, "I gotta get some gabagool."
Hey, come over here, you meathead. Yeah, it's
get away from me. I can't even do an Italian accent, so it's like
it's staying in.
Just trust that it's the most over the top
New York Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he is played by John Magaro. Eventually, they bump into the sexiest French girl I've ever seen, Chloe, played by Mathilde Olivier, who helps them in their journeys to kill Nazis and do drugs. Overlord is produced by J.J. Abrams, and it feels like it. It was directed by Julius Avery, who, up until this point, has just done a bunch of not a bunch, like, not much at all.
He did one other full feature-length film. Right. This is his sophomore thing. Like, that always amazes me.
How does that ramp happen?
Yeah.
How does ramp from literally unknown feature-length one to
being produced by J.J. Abrams?
Yeah, that's meteoric rise. That's like...
I think it's just you must have done really good work on those shorts and the one feature-length film. Probably stayed under budget, and you're cheap.
Really good at, getting those knee pads out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my score for Overlord is 7 out of 10, but that comes with a pretty heavy asterisk, because after talking with Bryce, he's right on a lot of the things you're going to hear him say. He's not wrong about it. It's just it tickles all of the things that I wanted it to, which is World War II. I love World War II. I love it. I love killing Nazis. I love it. The drug thing with the crazy zombies it turns people into. I love it. All that stuff. I love it. So it's hard for me to, because and the action was so enjoyable. There was a few action sequences that gave me chills. And so therefore, if those things are your deal, you'll like this movie. If not, maybe listen to Bryce's score.
Yeah, I give it a 5, just right down the middle. I think if I'm being generous, I could give it a 6. It's like 5.5 for me, because it delivered exactly what I thought it would, and it's there's nothing like exceptional. Everything is expected, and there's not a whole lot of I mean, not that this really matters, but in terms of like thematic material and logic of what's actually going on, it's usually dictated by what'll be cooler at this moment in time.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
As opposed to like, what's this story? And but yeah, I'd give it a 5.
Along with, there's a few minorly annoying PC culture nods that stand out a little more than you would think.
Yeah, there's one or two times where I was like, it does take me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like wrong for being taken out of it. But
which is the right way to feel. You should be ashamed for feeling the way you feel.
But I mean, when I go back and think about it, I think we gave Meg a 5. It was just middle of the road.
Yeah, maybe.
I think Predator I think I gave it a 7 or an 8.
I think I gave it a 7 or an 8. I think I gave it like an 8 because I really, really love Predator.
But I think that one was more exceptional from the script wise. Yeah. It was genuinely like entertaining interchange between the characters. And this one is just, there was a couple times where I exhaled a little heavier through my nose. And that's about as funny as it got.
So not only does this tickle all the things that I wanted it to tickle, but it like it was such a breath of fresh air after Suspiria. Like it really helped wipe Suspiria out of my being, which, oh man, that movie is heavy as shit. And it just stayed with me the whole week. So I was like very happy to go to World War II and kill some Nazi zombies. That was great. So yeah. So, you know, if you more on my side, go see this movie. If you kind of feel like, I could do without World War II, I could do without killing Nazi zombies, then, you know, maybe, but
or Nazi monsters.
Yeah, Nazi
I mean,
monsters.
It's not very specific.
No, it's not specific. I'm calling them Nazi zombies though, because I know that will do that will do better than calling them Nazi monsters, because Nazi zombies are a thing. Black Ops 4 just dropped, so hello.
Okay. All right, should we get into the beats?
Yeah, let's hit them spoilers.
Spoilers.
So, first of all, this movie started out balls to the wall.
Oh man, if the movie had kept up the momentum that opening sequence had, it would have been so great.
I did not breathe for the first 15 minutes of this film.
Like it's pretty much I mean, again, it's exactly what you'd expect for that scene of a parachute drop, just the chaos and whatnot, but it did it very well.
Yeah.
Like really a great World War II straight ahead D-Day sequence from paratroopers. And of course there's plenty of movies that they can take material from and use what works, but it worked.
None of them I've never seen this sequence done this well. This jumping out of planes, paratroopers jumping out of planes on D-Day, and I've seen every single one of them, you know, because it just doesn't get any better than this. This is the best that pre D-Day paratrooper jump.
There was one thing that so when the plane gets hit, the back of it's like on fire in flames and stuff, and it's sliding up or it's angling up, and so a bunch of people are sliding back into the flames.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are they falling out of the back, or is it just
Or are
turned
they
into
falling into an inferno?
like it looks? It's either because the plane wasn't long enough before for that to be like, I don't know. It either turned into a portal to hell, or they fell out the back of the plane, which
Yeah.
would have been like, well, you wouldn't have gotten that burned.
Well, your vision was obscured. Either way, it would have sucked.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't good news. So Boyce jumps out of the plane, and
Now, hang on. We're glossing over a little bit here, which is like the lead up is tense. Like bullets start coming through the floor. The sound, like I urge you, like the first thing you should be thinking of if you want to go see this movie is go someplace that you know has a great sound system. If you're going to some old Regal cinemas that's 10, 15 years old and they got all blown out speakers and stuff, you're not going to have as good a time as if you go see it, because the sound in this movie was earth-shattering.
Yeah, it was a big impact. We went and saw it at Cinetopia in Vancouver, and they have a little higher quality audio, and they crank it up, and so it was very engrossing.
Yeah.
Like it felt like everything was exploding around you.
It was nuts. Yeah, man. My question to the audience, just right off the bat, is what was the last movie that made your hair stand on end? Because this whole first 15 minutes was like just such a crazy roller coaster ride for me. I was my hackles were up the whole time.
So yeah, the opening sequence, the best part about it is Boyce jumps out and he hits the water and basically starts drowning, and then there's a great sequence where he comes to the surface underneath his own parachute, and it's just a great shot of his face being covered by this parachute and cutting through it, and it was intense.
Yeah, it made me so upset, like so worried, because that he's under the water, he's cutting his parachute off slowly, as fast as you can when you're underwater and trying to fumble with the parachute and your knife and everything like that, and then he's like climbing 20 feet up to the surface of the water, and he's met by his parachute, which is over the water, acting as a napkin preventing him from breathing.
Right. Yeah, like I said, if the action sequences were as interesting as that one throughout the rest of the movie, it would have been an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
For me.
Oh yeah, because it would have been a fucking awesome World War II movie.
Right.
And you can't go wrong with that.
Right.
There's just too much good stuff in that.
Yeah.
The last amazing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole movie. So as soon as he gets out of the water, I was struck with like the set design and the landscapes and how beautiful everything was. They really did have amazing backdrops and scenery. I was there in the scene for pretty much the whole movie, and mostly I think it's because of the set design and all that kind of stuff. It was, it was all on point, and it looked good and pretty. So the action in this movie. So if you can't tell by the way we've been talking about it, the action in this movie was just explosively violent, and that held true through the whole movie. Like anytime a gunshot went off, it would go from a normal quiet talking volume to loud as hell. Like the cracking, like there was a lot of visceral fighting and stuff like that. It was all 0 to 60 very fast, and all the action scenes kind of stayed true to that.
Yeah, they're overwhelming. Like towards the finale, like your generic blast going off behind the hero running through the tunnel and jumping to safety as the explosions blow him out of the tunnel.
Yeah,
It goes full force.
Yeah,
there's no halfway point.
And it did all the things that you would that normally that happen in action movies and make you roll your eyes. But I don't know. I had a good time with it.
Right.
So it kept my attention through the whole thing. Normally, I'm not a big action movie guy, but I had a great time. So
talking about the stereotypical group of soldiers.
Yeah.
Honest question. How many New York Italian guys from the Bronx were in World War II? Were they all evenly distributed throughout every single company?
They were all paratroopers, for sure.
Like every single movie.
Yeah.
Every World War II story has the Italian Brooklyn guy.
Why is that?
It must be just standard issue. They
It
must hand out all the gear. Here's your standard issue Italian from
God.
Brooklyn.
Here's this guy.
Here's your standard issue Texan.
Hey,
he
assholes.
He goes by Tex. And here's your standard issue bookish guy that's going to write a book about this experience.
Right. They had in this, they had a cameraman, a documentarian who was sent with a large camera and was, bookish and had his glasses. And
they also had the literal guy writing a book, and he immediately exploded.
there was a guy writing. Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that was it. It was like, hey, I'm writing a book.
boom! As soon as he got done saying, I'm writing a book, he exploded into a fine haze of blood mist.
And that was one of my favorite lines, is that they realize that they're in a field of landmines.
A minefield.
Minefield. And
A field, some sort of field containing mines.
I call it the field of mines. Anyways, they realize that there's landmines, and so they start walking through carefully and poking the ground with their bayonets. And the Italian guy is like, "How hard is?"
Let me set this up. So the leader of the 4 or 5 guys who are left, who they've found and gotten together, he's like, "Whoa!" Because the dude who's writing a book just stepped on a landmine and exploded. So the dude who's in charge is like, what was his name? His name was
Ford.
Yeah, Ford. So Ford's like, okay, everybody, fix your bayonets on your guns and then like poke in the ground right where you're going to step next. And do it firm, but not so firm that it's going to set off a landmine. And then
the Italian guy is, how do I know if it's too hard?
You'll know.
You'll know. That was a great line.
That was a good line. Yeah, so at this point, they're walking through the woods. It's the middle of the night. And they see this girl running through the woods, and they're like, well, she can't just run away. Like, we can't let her get away because she'll alert someone to our presence, right? And she'll blow our mission. So they chase her down, they grab her, she spits in their face, and then they become friends because they give her back her knife. And this is Chloe, this girl that they befriend. Now she is now a part of the squad. Essentially, she doesn't really leave the action for the rest of the movie because she decides to house these. At this point, there was four of them left. There was Ford and Boyce and Tibbet, and then the forgettable cameraman who is basically a red shirt from in Star Trek and is sacrificed later to drugs.
Yeah, because I mean, they kind of portray Boyce as the guy that would be the conscientious objector.
Yeah.
The guy that was, what's it called, empathetic.
Yeah.
And so
supposed to be here, too wienery to be a soldier.
So having the guy that's the camera guy that doesn't really want to shoot his gun is kind of gilding the lily at that point. It's an unnecessary character.
Yeah.
And they don't really even develop it that much. It's like this, they're just like, oh yeah, we need the camera guy.
You are the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. One thing, like, upon reflection, I realize a lot of the movie takes place in that house.
Yeah,
like,
it's a huge portion.
It is a lull. I mean, there's a lot of like setup that goes into it, and I wouldn't say it is necessarily slowed down, but I wonder if they could have.
It feels strange.
It's less believable too, because they're like, "Hey, we have one mission, and we're going to mention it 20 times." what our mission is, that we're going to go blow up this tower, and how it's the most important objective. Everything else is secondary. And then they just stay around in this house for a while.
Yeah. And I know the feeling that you have because I have it too. But the way to get over that is to stop being such a jerk. No. The way to get over it is to realize that the whole movie takes place in a matter of 9 hours, right?
Right.
This is a 9-hour long sequence of events that this movie portrays roughly, because these guys got to go blow up this radio tower just directly ahead of the D-Day invasion. So D-Day is coming in the morning. I don't know how early you get there for D-Day. If you're like a little fashionably late, like 9. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. Is it like 9 or 9:30?
Sure,
and then so these guys drop, presumably, I would think around 9 or 10 after it gets dark, and because it's June.
Yeah, well, I mean, the function of the house in the storytelling makes sense, that it's setting up the characters, it's setting up, like, who this girl is and why she's mad at the Nazis.
Right.
Because they rape her, and
right.
then it's a safe place to come back to once they've done reconnaissance.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah,
which isn't completely out of the norm, but it seems like you could have made it a faster movie, or you could have packed in a little more action if you just had them go towards the tower and just say, "Hey, we're taking you with us, lady."
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So the house that we're talking about is Chloe's house. She takes them. They're like, "Can you lead us to this village?" She's like, "Yeah, I actually live in that village." She takes them to this village, stows them away in her attic. She's got a little brother. Is it her little brother?
Yeah, and a sick aunt. Zombie.
And a sick aunt who has clearly been tested on, made a test subject for the Nazis in the church / radio tower, and the little boy is like infatuated with these American soldiers because he likes baseball, and there's this great part where some Nazis come, knock on the front door. The Chloe goes to answer the door. It's her. So it's surprise. We meet some sort of corporal or something like that in the SS, who is her like forcible boyfriend. Like he has forced himself onto her and has a kind of very inappropriate relationship with her, where he just like rapes her.
Yeah, it's a scene where it looks like they've had a relationship before, but she's like, "Hey, I'm not into it tonight." Or, right. I mean, it looks like it's a begrudging relationship at that, but it's more of like an understanding of like, okay, you won't kill all my family if I just let you have sex with me. And
right.
She was like that night, "No, thanks. It's just I'm not feeling well." And he's like, "All right, well, I'll just kill your family and your brother, and then
we'll rape you,
and then I'll have me and my 3 other Nazi friends run a train on you."
Yeah, this movie is definitely like, I mean, it is not tiptoe around your feelings at all. It's like the Nazis were very bad people. They were, but the way it portrays them is completely inhuman. Like these people are monsters, just horrible monsters. I'm not saying Nazis aren't monsters. I'm just saying if you go see this movie, you'll be like, God damn, like there's no humanity in these people.
Right. So, and the worst is the Nazi that spits on the kid's baseball.
That's where I'm going with this. So this dude, this Nazi walks in. He's like, "Hey, how about we get it on tonight?" And she's like, "Nah, not feeling it." And he's like, "Oh, and by the way, the Americans and the brother are all hiding up in the attic, so they're like watching through the floorboards to this interaction." And at some point in this interaction, right when she's about to get it, somebody the little boy drops the baseball upstairs in the attic, and the other Nazis are like, "Oh shit, what's that sound up there? Who's up there? What's going on up there?" And they go up there, and the little boy is, in order to protect his new American soldier friends, he's standing at the top of the stairs in the attic with his baseball and his baseball glove, and he rolls the ball to the German soldiers who are about to come up into the attic and look and find the Americans. But the little boy stops them by rolling the ball down the stairs to them. The Nazi soldier who picks up the ball looks at it. This is what inhuman garbage these Nazis are. The Nazi picks up the ball, looks at it, sneers at the little boy, the little 5-year-old boy, and then hawks a big honking loogie and spits it on the ball and then throws it at the kid.
I mean,
this guy was a real jerk.
He was a real jerk. What a jerk. Like,
yeah.
good Lord.
All right, there was okay. So finally, she like consents and she's like, "All right, just fuck me already." And so the leader German's like, "Yay!
Hooray!
All right, see you guys." And he like dismisses his soldiers and they leave.
I'm so glad you decided to change your mind totally of your own volition.
And so, like, he starts going towards her. And this is the one thing that I want to call out. These Nazis are monsters. Nazis are the worst of the worst. We can all agree on that. However, can we point out that his opening move was cunnilingus?
Yeah,
so
he was
at least he was a considerate
he was a giver.
raper.
Yeah.
You know,
Unless she wasn't about it.
No, I mean, he like...
That was the thing he needed.
She still didn't want it, but like that was his opening move.
Bryce, don't turn this into something it's not.
I'm just saying.
That was his deal.
I'm just saying.
What'd I do?
He's if you're gonna rape someone, be considerate.
And don't
start with oral.
Don't rape them at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're going to rape them,
then start with oral.
Then start with oral.
I'm gonna say that makes it worse, probably. And any additional part of the rape, not wanted.
I guess that's true. Anyways, he doesn't actually get there.
He does.
Like he gets cold cocked by one of the Americans.
Yeah.
Before he can accomplish anything.
So they knock the zombie out. They string him up. They knock the Nazi. They knock the Nazi out. They string him up, and then
they beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
Yeah, they beat the crap out of him. They turn and something along the lines of, if you're gonna fight monsters, you have to become a monster. Something like that is said.
Mm-hmm. Foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing, and at that point, so the Nazi gets beat all to hell. The corporal gets beat up real bad. And Ford is like, okay, we need a recon mission. At which point, some wacky crap happens, and Boyce finds himself in the church. Like, there's a chase scene. He's chased by a dog. He gets in a truck full of dead bodies, and he finds himself in the church. Oh, the dog that chased him was a German Shepherd, the evilest of German dogs.
So yeah, when he was going into the church, I had to ask myself, because I think I just wasn't paying attention before that, because I wasn't sure what his actual mission was, why he was going up there. Because I know the other two guys got sent out to go find other people at the agreed upon drop point.
Yeah, something
but
confusing.
What was Boyce doing?
He was like out and about, like he might have been like smoking a cigarette, and then like something happened.
Yeah.
Like,
anyways,
we both stroked off for a mere second, and then Boyce is like on his way into the Nazi encampment,
and all of a sudden he's in the church, and that's when all the discoveries about Nazi experiments happen. And I gotta say, another endorsement for the sound of this movie. The sound design was great on it. It was very creepy. There was like a subtle like sounds of dentistry happening in the background. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah.
But like just a lot of off-putting sounds and sound
High-pitched.
design. And unlike the trailer, there wasn't a lot of like music.
No.
Like popular. There wasn't a lot of rock songs going on throughout it. I don't even think it opened with it. Did it open with Hell's Bells?
No.
I don't think so. The only real song was at the end with like this blues song, but most of the music was very like ambient, like deep bass drums and creepy backwards choirs
Yeah.
sounding. And it was great. It was effective.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and might I add? So he gets into this like this church that's basically been with catacombs that's been converted into a gigantic laboratory, like a medical laboratory. And why are the bad guys' laboratories always the dirtiest fucking place you can possibly imagine? Grime everywhere, test tubes that are just black and gross and gritty, and like every syringe that is pre-prepared ahead of time just looks like it's rusty and ready to like give you tetanus.
Yeah, this felt much more like a haunted house version of an evil scientist lair
Yeah,
than actually trying to portray what, an evil Nazi laboratory would look like. And that was one of the things that
it was creepy.
I had
though.
a question about. Lots of questions about what exactly they were experimenting on, what the purpose of it was. But can you explain to me what the random rubber scrotums with people in them was there to accomplish?
I can't tell you what that was about. What I can tell you is this movie very, very closely mirrors and reflects Wolfenstein. At least the Wolfensteins that I've played, which are Return to Castle Wolfenstein 3D, Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Well, not so much Wolfenstein 3D because that's just kind of like just squares and pixels. But Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and then the most recent first, so like the 2016 Wolfenstein. And so it is all of these weird experiments are just there to denote fucked up shit is going on in this place. We are inhuman, horrible, horrible people who place no value on human life except to further our needs of world domination by whatever means possible.
Right.
Because at one point, Boyce walks into a room where he can hear a woman in French saying, "Please help me, please help me," over and over again. He opens the door and there's a head with a spinal column coming out of it, just looking around with her eyes kind of in the darkness going, "Help."
Yeah,
help.
you know what it reminded me of? The music video for 9 Inch Nails' Closer.
Oh, it was totally Closer. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that. Yeah, that's absolutely what it was. Good job, Bryce.
Going back to the rubber scrotums, the rubber people scrotums. The people being the testicles and the metaphorical scrotums.
Right.
Like they're, I don't know, in this goo or whatever in these sacks, and they're alive. And there's just a moment. There's no explanation about it. There's no like.
They're constant. They're featured prominently a lot.
Yeah, they're in the trailer. And the only interaction with it is Boyce goes up to one, and there's a zipper on it at the bottom. He unzips it, and the guy's head pops through, and he's like,
"You gotta get me out of here!
Get me out of here!" And then he hears Nazis, and he's like, "Whoop." Back in there, and he shoves his face back in, zips it back up. All right, I'm out.
Get back in that scrote.
And he goes back and saves one of his soldiers. But yeah, that bothered me for some reason. It's like, what a great concept, but there's no payoff. They exist.
I have a theory.
Creepy.
I have a theory if you'd like to hear it. Maybe this is. Maybe they're doing this for the same reason the Matrix does it. Maybe they're using them as human batteries.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe.
because think about it. This is the 40s. Batteries are shitty. Humans plentiful.
True,
especially in France. True. Where they're not German, they're French. So it's like, we could just pop a few French people in there, use them as batteries.
So he discovers some vials with drugs in it, and okay, so let's list off how you see this drug used and its effects. So, number one, they use it on a dead guy. One of the soldiers is dead. He gets resurrected, and then
he gets resurrected with this serum, with this drugs.
and then immediately
Drugs.
proceeds to like become the Thing, or like a Cronenberg, like weird monster.
Bone hurting juice.
Yeah.
The drug is bone hurting juice, is what it is.
So the guy, it's in the trailer too. Like his neck just snaps like all the way back.
Don't
like,
drink it.
all the way back, and then because he wakes up and he's like, I feel great, and then he all of a sudden pulls like a full Suspiria and gets crumpled up like a used bag of chips, and then unraveled, got bones poking through skin and stuff, and then he's just a crazed
His
zombie.
veins are like standing out,
Yeah.
like real heavy.
And then the other effect we see is the people that have been experimented on for a while, I guess, and they're just full on 28 days later runner zombies.
Yeah,
Twitchy.
no. Yeah, there's Chloe's aunt in the house, and she just basically looks like a walking tumor.
Right.
And she is not fast. She is distinctly slow and sickly.
Right.
And then you got the zombies who are basically the dead resurrected, which I can prove because at some point the doctor in charge of the facility says to his counterpart, "No, don't use the serum on yourself. You're still alive. We've never tested it on a live subject."
Right.
And we don't know what that could do. But this guy's face is already blown halfway off, so he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
He shoots up two of these serums. So this is the corporal, the Nazi corporal, and he gets just beat to shit. He gets a part of his face blown off, and he's back at the castle, and he's ready for revenge. At this point, he pops two of these serums.
So he just becomes a super soldier, kind of like he's got a hole blown in his face.
Yeah.
But he's a super soldier with the serum. So it goes from like
Resurrection.
full on resurrected body crumpled man,
and
to-
very, very, very strong. Like they're all super soldiers.
Yeah.
Anybody who's got this stuff in them, super soldiers.
and then there was the one zombie that was chasing after him, that was like a gooey zombie. Maybe that's what those sacks were for, just to get the zombies nice and gooey.
Yeah, you really gotta like soak your dead first.
Yeah. And then there was just the super soldier.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't very clear of like, all right, what does this stuff do necessarily? If they had stuck with it resurrects people, or I don't know.
Or if
I don't
they'd have
know,
given a few different colors, if there'd have been blue
Yeah.
and instead of just orange,
Right.
then that'd have been cool. But I mean,
I think
this
it
is kind of splitting hairs.
It was basically like Juice X. It's like it'll do whatever we want it to for the plot.
Yeah.
At this moment, we want them to be chased after something, so we'll make a crazy twitchy zombie that somehow moves faster at different camera speeds.
Right. The
Chase after this girl.
right. Nuke from RoboCop 2, we know a lot more about
Right.
than the serum in Overlord.
Right.
Whatever it is.
And the only thing that we learn about it is it's some kind of natural thing that they pump out from underneath the church. It's not like a Nazi chemical
It's gluten.
experiment. It's literally some kind of weird element that's underneath this church that there had been stories of from the French talking about it.
It's definitely gluten,
Right.
and I don't do well with gluten.
Yeah.
So right now I'm already out. So the horror elements of this movie are essentially body horror, first and foremost, and then jump scares like right behind body horror. And the jump scares are good. Like nah. They worked on me.
Every one of them, like, you knew exactly what they were doing. It was like, I'm going to look through this hole in the wall and see what's on the other side. It's like, it's of
The
course,
trumpet.
of course there's going to be someone's face come up and into the hole. Like, of course that's what it's going to do. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I don't know. I like jump scares that actually are surprising or coming surprising part, not like that it's led up to.
There were ones where it came in surprising.
Where were they? I don't remember anything.
I can't remember. I was too surprised to remember.
How convenient.
How can you expect me to remember if I'm surprised?
That's exactly why you would remember.
That's how your brain works. Privileged brain.
Okay, so at one point, the super soldier Nazi is fighting the Ford, the pragmatic hero.
He was not pragmatic. He was a dick.
And Ford decides, like, he's already hanging on a hook. He's, like, being left for dead. And he's like, all right, I'm going to stab myself with this serum. And then so they're evenly matched and they have a fight, which was, to me, the least effective action sequence in the movie. Because you know what's not interesting? Evenly matched people punching each other over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same reason why, like, Man of Steel was super uninteresting, those action sequences. Like,
But the thing that kept it semi-interesting for me, like, I knew what was going to happen, but the sound was so loud and visceral, like the cracking and the punching, like it was huge. Like it was just so, and it added such a big element to the overall effect that didn't bother me. And the same thing with the gunfights. Like, first of all, World War II gunfights, I'm in.
Yeah.
I am 100% there. But the sound was so much better than any other example of that I can think of, that I was just like, I was cool with it.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the action sequences that I had an issue with, is that they don't, and this is splitting hairs, and there's not a lot of action movies that go this route, but the really good ones do, is that the action doesn't actually serve a purpose. It's usually to get from one point to or another, or
Right.
it doesn't communicate anything in the story. It's like, and then this happens, and then this action sequence happens because we think it'd look cool, and so we want to show you.
Right. It's the reason the movie Rampage exists, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Right. It's like action sequences, it'd be more interesting if they were unevenly matched, or there was like a balance of power shifting, or even if he was like in the fight and then he injects himself while he's getting his ass kicked, and then all of a sudden he has power to fight him. Like, that would be more interesting.
I have an idea. I'm going to pitch a movie to you right now.
Okay.
Action sequence, the movie. All right. So this movie is unapologetic and is what it is. It is just a series of the best action sequences you've ever seen. And they're loosely tied together, and there's no attempt to have some half-assed plot behind it. It's just a series of action sequences for 1 hour. How well would it do? If we're talking top tier, like best of the best, action sequences.
They always do really well. I mean, I can think of a list of movies that's basically the case.
But if it literally threw away the premise, like not even a veneer, if it was just like a guy looking at another guy at the start of the movie and he goes, "Fuck you."
Well, I mean,
and then the other guy goes, "No, fuck you." And
it's
then,
on.
And then it just goes like, whew.
I think the closest to that is John Wick.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's too real because they got a dog in there. I care about it.
He has a strong motivation, but that's it. There's no story other than I have a strong motivation and I desire revenge.
It's too much. I can't care about it. It's too much.
The other one that came to mind was the most recent Mission Impossible. A lot of the Mission Impossible movies are like,
wafer thin.
Like, yeah, there's a MacGuffin, we're running after it, but look at all these action sequences.
What's a MacGuffin?
A MacGuffin is a story device where it's basically an object or person of power that just acts as the motivation to move the plot forward.
So this is like a word for a thing.
Yeah, so For example, in Pulp Fiction, the
briefcase
is a MacGuffin. Like, you don't know anything about it other than it's something, and it's something that people desire and are wanting to go after.
Don't anyone say you don't learn things on this podcast.
Anything where there's like a super weapon that the bad guys and the good guys are going after, that's a MacGuffin. Like it doesn't give many details.
The drug is the MacGuffin in this movie. Kind of.
No, because it's not motivating the plot. They're not going after the drug. They're using it.
Okay. All right.
It's
not a
different.
MacGuffin.
It's a little different.
Anyway, I think action sequence the movie would do well. Let us know what you think. Can we get this greenlit? What do you think? Then there is, they end up this is a big spoiler now, so just bear with me. They blow up the radio tower, accomplish their mission, and save the kid and Chloe. And everything's okay, but it does leave it open for a second because it's only been 9 hours. We're still on D-Day, bro. There's, how many, you think they got their biggest and best, Overlord experiments just sitting on the beach, just right off the beach a couple miles? No. We're heading all the way to Berlin.
Well, I mean, in the movie, it talks about how it's a natural substance underneath that church specifically that they're mining.
Okay.
So, if it can be found other places, then yes. And
if the idea can be torn down, Bryce will do it.
I will. The other thing is that bothered me at the end of the movie, Boyce hides the fact that anything existed under the church. They're like, people say there's a lot of weird stuff going on under there. Did you notice anything?
You guys kind of blew up a whole lot. Why'd you do so much?
And Boyce is like, nope, just a church.
Doing my job, sir.
And they didn't really set it up for why he would do that other than, I guess.
No, they did set it up. They, what's the corporal's name? Wolf? Ford.
Ford? Yeah.
Yeah. Ford says, make sure that we don't get a hold of this either, because we would try and do something with it too. Does he say that? Whatever's under the ground here needs to stay under the ground and buried. Don't tell anyone. Don't let anybody know. The bone-hurting juice must go away for good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But there's no way that's the only sample, the bone-hurting juice. Come on now. Anyway, so this movie was a Bad Robot production, and for the longest time, it was alluded to be a Cloverfield tie-in. Many people suspected as such. There were lots and lots of rumors and lots of videos made. It was like Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane, which, by the way, if you haven't seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, you need to, because that's a stellar movie, a really, really, really good movie. And the Cloverfield paradox are all kind of part of a universe that exists all together. And this was supposed to be, or rumored to be, the fourth in that series of events. It is not. So, sorry to... Because I was really hoping it would be, because I love Cloverfield.
How do you know it's not?
Yeah, it could be, but there's just not enough. There's not enough to tie it, and it's not it wouldn't be interesting if it were.
Someone once the DVD comes out, someone on the internet's gonna find look, it's a logo of this company that exists over here.
The Slurpee brand. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. David sent me a video of the explanation of the connections between all the Cloverfield movies, and it's all look, there's a logo here, and they're all drinking the same stuff,
Slurpees.
And it all comes down to J.J. Abrams puts his stink on something,
Yeah.
and so it's all related.
He farts on everything in the same way.
What's the connection? Yeah. It's J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
That's it. There's definitely no overall plot. No, J.J. Abrams doesn't have a basement like in a beautiful mind with strings connected to different movies and plot lines and stuff and pictures of characters. He's just like, just watching Lost will show you that they're just making it up as it goes.
This is just garbage that we put together. It's gobbledygook, and it seems interesting, and that's why you care.
And we already designed these logos for stuff, so we're going to reuse them.
If you want to see people really freak out, mention that soldiers of African American heritage were not integrated with Caucasian units during World War II. See what happens. Because the main character, Boyce, is playing an African American man, even though he's a British man. But yeah, he's black.
Okay.
They weren't ever deployed with white people in World War II.
Yeah. Well, I'm just. It's weird how you frame that. Did someone explode at you or something for
No,
mentioning that?
there's internet arguments about it. Like, this isn't historically accurate. And it's like, well, no shit, because it's also got zombie juice in it.
Yeah, that was the one thing that pulled me out like immediately, is that they're in the plane. Their superior officer was a black guy played by what's his name? Bokeem Woodbine.
Okay.
Which, if you pull up his picture on IMDb, tell me he is not the love child of Samuel L. Jackson and Dave Chappelle.
No, he's pretty close.
Yeah, so he's the superior officer, and it just pulled me out for a minute because I'm like, wait a minute. People were still really racist back then. I don't think they had like commanding officers that were black commanding white officers. Like, that didn't feel right.
Right. Is this a Tuskegee thing or
Yeah.
like? And I mean, it's a.
So they weren't integrated till 52, right?
I have no idea.
I think that's the year that was put out, but
That's like Korea.
shocking. This movie is not historically accurate.
Yeah, don't go for the historical accuracy on Overlord.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing accurate about this movie, so should not be surprising to you. Final recommendations. Who do you think would like this movie?
I mean, people that are like 80s action movies would like this movie.
Oh yeah.
It's over the top kind of gore that you'd see in 80s horror movies, but also very 80s in tone for the action of just, let's not overthink it.
Yeah.
Let's just show some stuff getting exploded and some people being punched.
Come on, guys. Let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, I think I agree with most of that. Next, we're going to taglines. Taglines this week brought to you by Sucky No Fuck. Jesus Christ, Bryce, what the fuck is this? This is just profane. I don't like it when you make me read this. Here's taglines. All right. So how many do you got?
4.
4? I got 4 also. I think you probably have read mine.
Perfect.
Perfect. You go ahead. Oh, I should say taglines is a bit where we read taglines, we make up taglines that we think would do better for the movie or are more funny than what the movie came up with. So, here's your first tagline by Bryce.
Overlord. Bending over backwards for your entertainment.
I like it. Bending over backwards. Overlord. Just say yes to drugs. That stuff was serious. That was serious drugs. Like, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but
Overlord. Don't overthink it.
boo. Boo. Overlord. It's not peer pressure. It's just your turn. Another drugs thing.
Overlord. They're zombie Nazis. No, super Nazi. No, super zombie Nazis.
I don't like that one. Okay. Overlord. Halt. Hammerzeet.
Perfect. It was worth the 7 minutes of listening to Hammer Time.
Oh my
Trying to
God.
find the perfect spot.
You want to find a specific spot in the song Hammer Time? I dare you to find any specific spot in Hammer Time. You'll end up just like clicking through this song, just hearing Hammer Time. Stop. Stop. Hammer Time.
Stop.
Hammer Time.
Hammer Time.
Can't make me.
Just basically anywhere.
You can't touch.
Pull up Hammer Time video on YouTube, click anywhere in the timeline, and you'll get greeted by
You just can't touch.
stop. Hammer Time.
Hammer Time.
Stop.
Hammer Time.
Hammer Time.
Stop.
Hammer Time. Time. Stop.
Now you go.
Okay. Overlord. D-Day. More like Z-Day. Am I right?
Zombies. Overlord. They did not see this coming. It's a play on.
It's not Z.
They did not see it coming.
Horror movie news.
Okay, so now we got not a bunch of horror movie news, but I got a few spots for you. So last night I was scrounging around for some horror movie news, and I was on Bloody Disgusting, which is a horror movie / horror website that talks a lot about horror movies. And Brad Miska reported on a Vogue writer who who says that horror this year has been bad or lackluster. And the Vogue piece is done by Taylor Antrim, and this is great. So this guy Taylor Antrim for Vogue says, "Remember when horror was good?" Brad quoted him saying, bringing up his quote, "Remember when horror was good?" asks one of Vogue's writers, who proclaims 2018 void of any good horror movies in this article published this week. Yet still works in mentions of Hereditary and A Quiet Place, the latter of which he calls a thriller. So he doesn't even notice it as a horror movie. He calls it a thriller, which I don't really know the difference.
And that's definitely not a thriller.
It's not a thriller.
It's just a straight up horror movie.
And then he goes on, this Vogue writer goes on to say, "We didn't even get a decent shark movie this year. Bitch, we got the only shark movie I've seen in fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
And,
The Meg.
Yeah, and Bragg goes on to say he bolsters like that's some kind of quantifiable statistic over the past 100 years of cinema that you get like, a new shark movie every year. The writer of this Vogue article went on to slam Halloween before he comically told readers to watch Revenge, which I hate to break it to him, says Brad, came out this year. So yeah, it made me think like this has been the craziest year yet for horror, like in ages.
Yeah, it's been a great year for horror. Yeah, I think, well, shocking, Vogue is not a good publication for horror critique.
Yeah, why? Like,
yeah, the real question is, why were they even talking about horror movies?
Why were they talking about
in
horror
Vogue?
movies? And how could you be so off base?
Yeah.
How could you be so wrong? The only good year in horror movies that's ever happened in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. Anyway, so I thought that was funny. I'll put both links up. I'll put a link up to both Bloody Disgusting and Vogue on our website, horrormovietalk.com, for this. And you get Suspiria. So crazy. Dread Central reports that original Friday the 13th composer is scoring new holiday-themed horror movie called Hanukkah. Have you seen the trailer for Hanukkah?
No.
Holy shit. This movie is nuts. This trailer is nuts, I should say. And they got the composer, Harry Manfredini, who is a bona fide treasure of the horror genre, says Dread Central, having scored just about every installment of the Friday the 13th franchise, among literally dozens of other awesome classic genre flicks. And now we're getting word that Manfredini is scoring the upcoming holiday-themed horror movie Hanukkah, written and directed by Eben McGar. This This movie, like I said, is the craziest fucking trailer I've ever seen. I kind of wouldn't mind playing a clip of it right now if we can. We don't have to. But I'll definitely put it on the post.
Yeah, let's just put it on the post.
Okay. And then I have one last piece about, I like these, the most popular horror movie by state. And I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm just going to hit a few of them.
Didn't we already do this one?
No, we did the most Googled horror movie villain by state.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is the most popular horror movie by state.
I've got a couple news items while you look that up.
Yeah.
One was that the Richard Eggers, the director of The Witch, is going to have another project released in 2019, The Lighthouse.
Oh, baby.
So looking forward to seeing what he's going to come up with. It'll star William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Witch was such a crazy, like, that was 2015, I believe. Mm-hmm. And to my recollection, 2015 wasn't a crazy year for horror, other than the fact that The Witch came out and it's one of the best horror movies in
right.
Many,
The Witch
many
felt
decades.
like it set off just a kind of cascade of like, oh,
yeah, it's responsible for a lot of what's going on now in horror, I think.
And then the other headline was the Satanic Temple has now filed a $50 million lawsuit against Netflix over Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because they used one of the Satanic Temple's statues in the production. They used a copy of the statue of a goat man or whatever.
Baphomet.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, that's ours. You can't just take our design.
You can't take
and
our
use
god and just
and
parade him around however
and
you
use
want.
it in a really shitty satanic panic show.
You wouldn't do that to Muhammad, would you?
Yeah, that's basically what they said. So
That's pretty good.
that's it. At least interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, the Church of Satan has turned out to be one of the most interesting troll religions ever. Maybe the only actual active troll religion, right?
Yeah, because it's people actually think that it's
They think that it's a church.
that it's an actual church and not
It is not.
supposed to. I mean, it's basically got the same origin as the spaghetti monster, the flying spaghetti monster religion.
Yeah.
But flying spaghetti monster is much more obviously like a commentary or trolling,
Yeah.
saying like, yeah,
Did the Flying Spaghetti Monster, was it born of South Park?
no, I think it was an internet thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I thought it was South Park.
no, I mean it feels like South Park, but I'm pretty sure it's just an internet thing of, I believe in a flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah. The most popular horror movie in Washington State, which is where we are, is Shaun of the Dead. And I think that's accurate because Carrie and I watch Shaun of the Dead at least once or twice a year.
Huh.
What's your go-to like horror movie?
I don't know. I guess I don't really watch a lot of horror movies on repeat, but I would
have,
probably
like, a go-to?
go more towards like Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, that's a good one. The great thing about Paranormal Activity is it's so tight. Like
Right.
it's like an hour and 20, you know?
Yeah.
And it's all of it's good. And then I thought this was a little apropos. Guess what? You'll never guess what it is. Oregon is a girl walks home alone at night,
Of course.
which is I believe that's in
So they only surveyed Portland, is what you're saying.
Right.
Only Portland and Eugene were surveyed for that.
exactly.
There's nowhere in rural Oregon that would be like, yes,
Yeah.
we want an obscure foreign film about a vampire,
Right.
a vampire girl to be our number one horror movie.
Yeah. It's not like it was a bad horror movie. It's just it's way like under like that's no Nightmare on Elm Street, you know.
Right.
It is a underground movie for sure. And then of course, I mean, can you guess Texas's?
Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
Massacre.
for sure.
I mean,
100%.
what's California?
California, let's see here. Give me some time. Iowa was Evil Dead 2. Alabama was the original Halloween. Delaware. I'm in Delaware. What? That is... Wow. Okay, no, actually that makes sense. Californians are all about the Spanish film The Orphanage, or El Orfanado.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I've seen. It's not bad. It's a good movie.
Wonder what Utah is.
Well, let's see.
Utah will be like Poltergeist. Something PG-13.
Virginia is Drag Me to Hell. Ooh, you know, you're close, but you're not quite right. It is comedy horror. So you want to take a stab in comedy horror?
Tucker and Dale?
No, it is Zombieland.
Oh, Zombieland.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's Utah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a fun thing that I liked. I don't know. I have no idea how they compile any of that stuff, but or if they just like
Yeah, that's highly dubious.
call up their friend in Washington. They're like, "Hey, what's your favorite horror movie? Shaun of the Dead." Okay.
Yeah, I mean that sample must have been not statistically
Hey, whoa.
relevant to the rest of the population in Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how accurate any of that is. Anyway, so with that, thank you all very much for listening to our review of Overlord. Please share this podcast with a friend. It is the only way we can grow at this point. So share us with a friend on social media, or good old fashioned word of mouth. Give us your feedback if you'd like to help us out. Also, take our audience survey on our site, horrormovietalk.com. Currently surveying our listeners to learn more about you. So please take a few minutes, visit on our website, and click on the listener survey link at the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Special thanks to this week. Special thanks to Adrian for giving me a call and being like, I want to hear more of this and that. And I'm like, Adrian, I can do some of that. And he's like, cool, thanks. And then he argues with me about, wanting it his way. But I appreciate
Get
that.
your own podcast, Adrian.
No, don't keep listening to this one because I really appreciate the feedback. So thanks, Adrian. And with that, this has been Horror Movie Talk. And goodbye.
Bye.
We love you.